everyone, my name is Luna and I'm here to catch you up on everything that happened in episode 117 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, Race to the Ruidian Core. This is the final episode of 2024 and I don't know, I just can't believe how quick that this year has gone. The next Bells Hills episode will be on January 4th after a 2-week break. This video is brought to you by my patrons. I'd like to say thank you so much to all of my patrons and welcome new patrons Leon and Jeff. If you find these videos helpful, you can help me make them for as little as $2 a month at patreon.com/Luboffin. Alright, let's get into it. After the triumphant victory of the Mighty Nine, we rewind time back to Imogen's vision of Liliana being absorbed through Ludinus's new quintessence array. This is a process that takes an hour, so they don't have much time to get there. Ashton advises caution.
It's clearly a trap. I'm not saying we don't go, I'm just saying it's clearly a trap.
We're going there anyway.
Which means when we go in, let's know that they're expecting us.
Okay.
Let's be smart about it.
Obligatory Star Wars reference here.
It's a trap!
They are still under the seeming spell from last time we saw them, and they start moving their way through the city, hoping that walking with an air of urgency and confidence will dissuade too many questions. Matt says that he is tracking 2 different clocks, but the players don't know what they're for, so, you know, that's a fun bit of dread. Imogen and Fern use their connection to Ruidus, focusing on the Pool of Predathos to navigate through the city to the Arx Creonum. They arrive at the base of the Prime Pillar, where they see a large hole has been carved into the ground, forming a pathway downward alongside the Prime Pillar. Ryloran soldiers are patrolling the area, and the entrance itself is guarded by 2 Thought Eaters. After debating how to get into the tunnel, they decide to pretend that they are Rylorans who have captured Fern and are bringing her to Ludinus.
You hear in your head, Imogen, what is it you bring here?
An escaped assaultant. Called by Ludinus. She wanted to escape her duty.
Make a deception check.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
I'm gonna put on a show like
Pick
I'm
a good
trying
one.
to, like I'm trying
Like
to.
a real good one.
This is a disaster.
I'm gonna kick
So you are making.
Ow!
So you are aiding her with this.
Yes.
Okay. So you can roll one more
How
time.
dare you?
Oh, I get to. Oh,
Well, she was
okay,
aiding
roll.
you with this. So
Oh,
you-
yes. Advantage. Okay.
Okay, well I'll take the other one.
Was that a 1?
That
It's
was-
not, because I'm by you.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Halflings, man.
Oh, natural 20!
The Thought Eater congratulates them on their capture and says that they will take her to Ludinus themselves, waiting expectantly for Imogen to hand her over. Just as this moment of tension builds, the Volition's detonation goes off and the Rylorans move off to investigate, leaving Bells Hells to enter the tunnel and caverns. As they follow the path down, Chetney, with his keen wolfish sense, can smell the approach of Avedons who have been sent up from below. They decide to set a trap, Looney Tunes style, by rolling out the portable hole into the tunnel and luring or shoving the Avedons into it. Ashton slams one in with their hammer.
45 points of damage. It gets hit and then falls into the hole, and you can barely hear it moving.
And Orem and Chetney team up to shove in another.
It barely holds on. You wham, hit it with all of your gnomish might. For a brief moment, like you tap into that, the wolven curse in your blood, and drawing on that strength of the beast within. For as small size you are and as what little room there is to move, an unnatural amount of strength comes in your impact on it, and it
The third one stops short, so Fern makes some kissy noises to bring it closer, enough for Imogen to try and telekinetically pull it into the hole. However, it resists and attacks Fern. Breus then shoves it into the hole with a natural 20. Matt also rolled a natural 20, but as Breus has the highest strength, the Avedon joins its brethren in the hole, which the group quickly folds up. It has been 95 episodes since they got this item, and I'm sure that they've been tweeted at about it so many times before, but rules is written, any creature inside the portable hole can make a DC 10 strength check to escape, and if they make the DC, they just like force their way out. I think at this point they have definitely decided that this is just like a homebrew version of this item without that feature, and honestly, even though the rules lawyer in me just wants to hit the buzzer and yell, actually, they've pulled off some really fun plans to, you know, take out guards and creatures with this hole, so I don't know, I think the trade-off has like totally been worth it. Hate to think what the hole smells like every time they open it though. Ooh. They continue to travel down, now finding caverns with glowing teal glass like those Imogen saw when she had a vision of falling toward the center of the moon back in episode 84. The Prime Pillar itself becomes less smooth and more organic in its form, with branching sections and rougher glass. A musty fungal smell rises up as they move down, and they find a cavern filled with fungus, one of the farms that they learned from Elder Barthy create most of the food for the population of Ruidus. The farm is tended by mycete, fungal creatures who are part of the ecosystem of Ruidus. I'm very interested in how this relates to Daggerheart, because in that game system there is an ancestry called Fungril, who are fungus people. They have the abilities Fungril Network, where they can speak to other fungrils using a mycelial array, and Death Connection, which allows them to extract a memory from a recently deceased corpse. One argument I've seen against them using Daggerheart for Campaign 4 is the fact that it has ancestries that we haven't seen in Exandria, like Ribbits, Simia, and Fungrils, but I don't know, I think the world is a pretty wide place and there could be plenty of little pockets of the world that these folks live in that we just haven't seen yet. The mycete eye the group curiously, speaking in a whistling tone. Imogen speaks in one of their minds.
There isn't so much language as there is just kind of an odd mixture of emotion and color, and you get the sense that it knows where things are happening.
One of them is in danger. We need to help.
About 24 more slowly emerge, and they're kind of like filling up the cavern around you all.
Dorian recognizes that while it isn't exactly the same way the mycete communicate, it does have some similarities to the primordial language of Exandria, hinting that they may have lived on Exandria and might have been scooped up when the gods carved a chunk of Exandria out to imprison Predathos. Aurum Druid crafts some fruit and hands it out to the mycete, who smear it on their little fungal caps. I mean, they're just so heckin' cute! Dorian investigates the walls of this cavern and notices that the mycete are using small tunnels throughout the rock. The group contemplate whether they could use these tunnels to get directly down to the hallowed cage, and Imogen telepathically asks one of the mycete.
Predathos. The heart.
You put the image in its mind of Predathos being a Ruidus born, being an entity that has a connection with the very core of this world, and the mycete, as it looks towards you, its head shoots up straight.
Oh.
And it grabs your hand and starts pulling you towards the room.
I think these are part of Predathos.
No, maybe he's showing you.
The mycete begin to swarm Imogen a little and pull her towards a tunnel that seems large enough for all of them, although it is a tight squeeze for Fern and Breas. They decide to just go with it and they slide down into the tunnel, whooshing down very fast. You know, if not for the terror of descending potentially directly into the Maw of Predathos, this would be pretty fun. The group have to make a series of checks as they go, which Matt ticks off on his blue and red clocks, but eventually they land in a large cavern on some spongy growth. This cavern is almost completely covered in fungus and webbing, and there are fungal tendrils dangling. That's really hard to say. Say that 5 times. There are fungal tendrils dangling from the ceiling, swaying slightly. Ashton decides that this is the perfect place to plant the seed of the All Minds Burn, which, if you've forgotten what this is, I don't blame you, because it was all the way back in episode 26 when we first heard about it. The All Minds Burn references 2 things. The first is a crawler gang in the city of Bassaras, who are known for being high all the time and also just kind of weird. The second is the being below the crawler gang's base, a fungus-like creature who Imogen and Ashton conversed with in episode 70. The crawler gang members smoke a substance produced by this creature, which gives them the ability to join their minds and connect psychically. The All Minds Burn communicated to Ashton and Imogen that it has been in Bassaras for centuries, and when it looked into Imogen's mind, it became very, very interested in Ruidus. The creature agreed to help Bell's Hells if they would do it a favor in return, take one of its seeds, known as a brood pit, and plant it on Ruidus. And finally, the moment has come! Ashton places the brood pit into a pool of water in the chamber. However, as soon as they did, the fungal tendrils hanging from the ceiling rapidly grow forward, scooping it out of the water and turning it around as if examining it. As it inspects it, the group notice that the fungus webbing has started to grow over the exits, an ominous sign. Breas wades into the water to see how deep it is and to determine if there is a way out through the pool. However, the fungus of the cavern lifts him up and out of it, growing up and around his legs. The group understandably begin to freak out a bit, but Fern holds out her hand to one of the fungal tendrils and connects to it.
Hello. How are you? I'm fine. We're just passing through. We don't mean any harm.
Through this connection, she can sense the space of the chamber and feels the consciousness of this being all around the room and extending beyond it. The being asks Fern what the seed is and why they brought it. She says that it's a new friend who was lonely and looking for a new home. With a nat 20 persuasion check, Oh, and aside real quick, I haven't talked about it yet, but the party rolled so many nat 20s this episode. It was actually wild. I didn't count them up. I wish I had, but hopefully the Omen archive will have some data on that because it seemed like, I don't know, just way more than usual. Anyway, with that nat 20, Fern connects to the being and shares her own feelings of loneliness and in return feels that it too knows what it means to be lonely. She has an impression of this entity being taken and misused by the weave mind.
I'll just also try and, with my fingers, just try to like twirl some of the tendrils with...
As you do, all the mice kind of in unison go.
I love that.
And as its tendril pulls away from you, the seed is lifted up and embraced within the fungal tethers. And slowly you watch as the expansion of the seeds, green and yellow, root-like reaching pseudopods begin to intertwine and weave with the core of the immediately visible cluster.
The tendrils embrace the seed, which begins to sprout, the webbing withdraws and all the tunnels open up again, and the fungus releases Breus. The mice lead the group to another tunnel entrance and they slip and slide down, once again landing on a large, smooth section of rock. Unfortunately, the group got separated somewhat and wind up on different platforms. However, Imogen still has the fly spell up, so Fern polymorphs herself into a giant shoebill, and carries Breus and the two groups reunite. Fern then ferries people over to a glass branching platform that is growing out of the prime pillar, and Breus notices that there are cracks directly into the pillar that it looks solid thanks to overlapping sections, very labyrinth-like.
Hey, hang on!
Thank you, that was incredibly helpful.
But don't go that way.
What was that?
I said, don't go that way.
After some further travelling down, they exit back out the prime pillar into a cavern where they can hear the sounds of people talking and Liliana softly weeping. Chetney casts Arcane Eye and sends it forward to get a look at the situation. He sees Ludinus in the Quintessence Array and Liliana floating above him, unconscious or catatonic. Liliana's hair has turned white and she is slowly crumbling. She and Ludinus are surrounded by a shimmering sphere which is being concentrated on by several exultants. The group move forward as quick and as quietly as they can and start casting buffing spells. Their footsteps do echo though, and Ludinus calls out.
Let them not interrupt her judgment. Her gift shall remain key to freeing us from the tyranny of the divine.
Well, we dive into one of the tensest battles, I think, of Campaign 3 so far. I think maybe only the fight with Odahan is up there with this for me, because Matt reveals that thanks to the clocks he's been tracking, they have only 3 rounds to free Liliana. They can't get at Ludinus or Liliana while that shield is up, so the fight becomes all about knocking out the Exultant's concentration. Something that is very difficult to do because they all have advantage on their concentration checks, and they can also reinitiate or reinstate their concentration with a bonus action. In round 1, Chetney uses a Blood Maledict on one Exultant to give him disadvantage on maintaining concentration, which he does drop when Fern casts a Scorching Ray on him. Breus Misty steps up into melee with one, and with another nat 20...
is...
51.
51 doubled.
Whoa!
Plus 7.
109.
Yeah, you just...
You
teleport up.
As I swipe in, I say, heads up. It's a full moo.
I mean, that's a really effective way to have them drop concentration. Laudna assumes her form of Dread and casts Fireball, and Dorian gets out some glow sticks and starts dancing. I like doodle-doo. Okay, I'll stop doing that now. Casting Hypnotic Pattern. Imogen casts Whirlwind on 2 of the casters, restraining them, and Ashton has a pretty bad round where they miss all their attacks. Sorry, Ashton. One of the Exultants inside the Whirlwind hits Imogen with Phantasmal Killer, but she is immune thanks to the Hero's Feast that they had earlier. Another hits her with Dissonant Whispers, causing psychic damage, and she has to take her reaction to move as far away as she can. Orym, who is riding Dorian's spectral mount Coriolis, pumps, I think, 6 attacks into one Exultant, but he succeeded on every single saving throw. Matt was just rolling so well. Finishing off the round, Ludinus is next.
He will attempt to use his Crush Will ability.
Was that?
That was once a Liliana ability.
No, he's already gotten an ability from her! Matthew!
I mean, you drain the power after just a short time. It's the hour that takes it permanently.
If he drains her permanently, do you have to call him Mom?
I think that legally he does have to.
No!
I mean, technically, he'll be your mom.
Don't say
Interestingly, Matt described lewdness as the prospective vessel, all but confirming that he has been consuming Exultant's powers in order to channel Predathos himself. I mean, it was pretty clear he was never going to let anyone but himself have that kind of power. Also, shout out to the commenters who reminded me that we actually did hear about Exultants going missing from Sorry Lord Zathuda back in episode 108.
The question is, who's going to strike first? And why are all the Exultants disappearing?
Lewdness has obviously been sucking up these Exultants, you know. Honestly, the Exultants helping him maintain that shield should, like, get out while they can. It's not at all relevant to the round, but shout out to a mention of my favorite musical.
60 feet. No, wait, no, that's my fly speed. I mean, there's no...
Round 2 kicks off, and Chetney in his wolfish form slams into an Exultant who drops concentration on the shield to cast telekinesis on him, lifting him into the air. Fern casts Scorching Ray again into the whirlwind, where another drops concentration, and Brea smashes one who is prone on the ground.
How do you want to do
Yeah!
Oh, right. I will stab down with my flail, but I will never leave eye contact with Aurum. Just sort of twisting and making sure that blood and ichor spray on my face in sort of a hot way.
Aurum is hypnotically held.
Things really start to kick off now as Lordna casts Eldritch Blast.
How do you want to do that?
That's something.
I'm applauding for my shirt, not the
Because my mouth is so unhinged
Just came out.
from my jaw, I just kind of go like and shoot Eldritch Blast from my mouth.
He's like concentrating and looking at Chetney. Hears that noise, goes, what in the...
Imogen, though, is unfortunately still stunned, and one of the Exultants psychically shoots their glass blade at her, slicing into her as she is unresponsive, hovering in the air. Dorian flies to her and squeezes her hand as he casts Lightning Bolt. Ashton then uses their wormhole strikes to move one of the Exultants away from the others, and Aurum joins him. Lewdness casts Mind Sliver on Imogen, and at the end of his turn, she is no longer stunned.
Whenever he does this to you, he kind of reaches up and pats the side of Liliana's face as she's gasping for breath. He says, soon you'll rest here.
If I'm stunned, can I say anything?
It's the end of the turn, you're no longer stunned, you can.
Oh,
that's right.
No longer stunned?
At the end, it's the end of his turn.
Fuck you. Yeah. You're gonna die here.
I know. Not before I finish everything I've wanted to do for so long.
We head into round 3, and this is the final round! Ah! There are still 2 Exultants concentrating on the shield, and they need to drop them, otherwise it is all over for Liliana. You know, it's time for some big, risky moves. So Chetney misty steps out of the telekinesis and dives directly into the whirlwind, where he starts slashing at the Exultants within. Knowing that they need to take out the last 2, even if it means hurting Chetney, Fern casts Wall of Fire into the whirlwind, making it a fire tornado. Wall of Fire does 5d8 damage, but because Ashley rolled pretty average, she only does 19 points of damage. However, despite the low roll...
How do you want to do this?
Okay.
They were both on the edge. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna look up at Imogen and I'm gonna say, we're gonna get her, Imogen! It's okay! We got this! And then I'm just gonna step forward and try to just, like, you know, make it happen.
As that massive flame tornado consumes those inside, you hear the screams of the Exultants within that are then silenced as a flaming werewolf is now just being lobbed around on the inside of it.
There is now only one Exultant left. Breas can't get to him, so instead he waits right outside the shield, ready to wail on Lewdness once it drops. Lordna casts a 6th level Disintegrate at the final Exultant using a sorcery point to empower the spell.
Please. How do you want to do that?
Yes! That's all of them? Is that all of them?
That should be all of them.
That's all of them, baby.
And I think it's
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, my void puppet that I just made, like, reaches out from the rock and grabs him by the head and, like, slams it up against the rock and keeps him there as I just beam him with a black necrotic beast.
No. and just atomizes into dark dust onto the ground.
With that, the shield is dropped. Let's go. Now they just need to drop the connection between Ludinus and Liliana, although there's only a few turns left to do so. Breus unleashes his held attacks and misses both of them. As he attacks, though, he notices that Ludinus now has the same glowing lightning marks across his arms that Imogen and Liliana have. Ashton attacks Ludinus as well, but he uses silvery barbs to render the attack useless. Thank goodness he used those silvery barbs, though, because Dorian is next, and Dorian casts Force Cage.
Pulling the
He
ruby.
just uses reaction.
He did.
So he cannot counterspell.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes, Force Cage Ludinus!
Okay.
As the force cage appears, the tether from his harness is severed and Liliana.
This was such a clutch play. I fully cheered out loud when it happened, because after Dorian, there was only Imogen and Orim left. Like, that is how close they were, just 2 turns away from Liliana being dead. Imogen flies to her mother and uses telekinesis to bring her close so she can pour a superior healing potion into her.
Imogen. She just looks back at you. How?
You're okay now. You're okay.
She like puts her arms over your shoulders and you can barely feel the strength as they do, but she just kind of holds you there for a second and hangs in your grip. She gets close to your ear and just whispers, "I don't deserve you, but I'm so glad you're here."
As she holds her mother, Imogen can no longer feel a tether to her, that Ruidian connection. For now, her mother is no longer Ruidusborn and no longer an exultant. How long it takes that power to come back, and if at all, remains to be seen. Ludinus, inside the Force Cage, regards the group.
Just puts his right hand in front and kind of plays with his fingers for a second while his black withered hand with its gold tips kind of clicks at his side. He goes, "Well, it seems for the time being we have a moment to chat. I figure why not take a bit of time and pontificate amongst ourselves before the end, huh?"
Doesn't Matthew Mercer know it's actually illegal to leave us on a cliffhanger like that? Oh my gosh, what a battle. This had everything I love in a D&D fight. High stakes, clutch spells, dice rolls down to the wire. You know, a lot of people disagreed with my assessment about the Weavemind battle in my last video because I talked about how it felt like there weren't really any stakes. You know, the Mighty Nine are so powerful that I never actually expected them to fail. But this is what I'm talking about when I say I want some emotional stakes in a battle. This is exactly what I mean. It was so good. You know, I know you can't have every fight be that intense because then they kind of lose their meaning. But for these big boss battles, it just makes it so juicy and fun. All right, so what is going to come next? What on earth could Ludinus possibly have to say to Bell's Hells? Force Cage doesn't prevent teleportation, so he could just, like, peace out whenever he wishes, but he obviously isn't in a hurry. He could try and convince them once again to join his cause, but I don't know. I think it's more about just wanting someone to tell his dastardly plan to. I mean, villain's gonna monologue, right? Because how often do they actually get to talk so openly about what they're doing, except in the company of those that they expect to very shortly murder? Will Liliana recover in time to help Bell's Hells in whatever comes next? You know, we're gonna have to wait 2 weeks to find out. If Liliana does survive this and fully turns to supporting her daughter, I'm so curious about what this means for Imogen and her father moving forward. You know, I don't think they're going to be a happily ever after family, but maybe there will be some peace there for Imogen. I don't know. Matt revealed in the cooldown that the blue clock is still ongoing and we don't know what it's about. I wonder if it has something to do with the Weavemind's death. You know, perhaps their death is going to make things easier for Bell's Hells when they come face to face with Predathos. But I'm not sure because I'm not sure how that timeline matches up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments what you think that is. Next week, I finally have another installment of my quick C3 recaps coming. I'm going to be covering everything that happened in episode 77 to 98 in one video, so keep your eyes tuned for that. I'm sorry, I've been meaning to get it done for months and months. And then I'm going to have a week off over the Christmas break. So to all of you, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you so much for a wonderful year. 25,000 subscribers by 2025. You're amazing. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye.